What is up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the My Team Journey, episode number 10. We're in double digits already, and we're well past the halfway point of this season. Thank you very much, reliability issues. This time, we're heading to probably my least favorite circuit on the F1 calendar. At this current stage, it is the French Grand Prix. I'm sorry, French fans, but this circuit kinda is a bit rubbish. Bring back Magny-Cours. Anyway, here we are for another episode. Leave a like, subscribe if you are excited for another campaign in this car. It is time to negotiate the contract of my teammate. Yes, that's what I said. Oscar Piastri. Are we going to keep him or are we going to fire him? His focus is in the mud, but he's been performing really well this season. He's already got a few points finishes, and I have no plans of getting rid of him. So we're going to go with a safe offer. 2.12 mil. Nice little step up or a bonus from what he was earning, which was $1 million. I paid him $1 million for the first half of the season. Now he's doubled his wage. He's doubled his value, and he will be absolutely loving life. So Oscar Piastri will be at the team for the remainder of the season, and I look forward to seeing what we can do as a partnership until, you know, this car gets better. So we need to give him the support, we need to give him the backing, and hopefully that can be the motivation he needs to well, up his game in practice. That's been his weak point. That's all I can really criticize him on. We just need to give him a better car, which can actually finish races. So we had a failure in the last race. We failed to finish the sprint race in Austria. However, we did make it to the end of that race. Go check it out. And it was a very, very spicy episode. But we still had a little minor issue, but it wasn't terminal. It meant that we got locked in a lower engine mode for a part of the race, but we were able to recover and get points. So that was absolutely awesome. Now, we focus our attention to the upcoming Grand Prix here in Paul Ricard. Just looking at what we can do upgrade-wise. We're limited by the resource points we have, but also, more importantly, we're limited by the department capacity. For departments which don't have fabrication upgrades, we can only do one upgrade per department. So for the chassis side, we're tied up. We can't do a major weight reduction that'll go on in time for Belgium. We're going to have to wait for our other upgrades to go on. So it's frustrating. We can't do tire wear either because chassis is already tied up. What we can do is downforce. We already have spec 1 fabrication upgrades for there, so we can do an extra upgrade there. And I think it's a similar case for the engine department. I actually didn't quite look there. Drag reduction. That's going on the car. That was a failed upgrade from last episode. Yes, we can do the engine side, and we're going to go for ERS. Not very timely for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Essentially, like Monaco, though I'm sure extra ERS will certainly help when it comes to consistently pushing lap after lap in the race. That's where I've got to say, I think the battery capacity is lower on F1 22 than what it was at the start of F1 2021. We can barely use the battery. We can't even do back-to-back qualifying laps. And it's even a struggle when we do a flying lap, a cool-down lap, and then a flying lap again. We really have to charge up that battery to get the power we need for that second run. Regardless, let's get into this weekend. A few upgrades going on for the aero side, which is absolutely lovely. And that should hopefully see us maybe overtake a team or two. A rear downforce upgrade and a drag reduction upgrade going on for this race, which will mean we can push harder into the corners. It'll be more stable and faster in a straight line. We do improve and we do break away from Williams ever so slightly, but everyone else improves gradually too. McLaren shooting up to the 4th best car and best of the rest. This pack is getting very close, it seems. So even though we're the 2nd worst car, there really isn't much separating us and the next 3 or 4 teams up to Alpine. So it's perfectly reasonable that if we're on form with our setup, with our driving, points can be on the horizon. Again, we got 2 7th place finishes in a row these last 2 Grand Prix, and you know, with the rate of attrition we've been seeing in these races, anything's possible. We've seen a lot of retirements, we've seen a lot of crashes, and well, Paul Ricard is probably the track with the widest runoffs in known existence, so there shouldn't be too many crashes, but you know, I wouldn't put anything past these 22 AI. Anyway, chucking in some new components. This is a power track. Let's head into quali and hope we're on the pace. Also, thank you for the feedback you guys gave me on the livery last episode. It seems a lot of you guys like it, and I do too. I think the gold at the back of the car flows nicer. I just love this angle of the car, the T-cam with what is black carbon fiber, matte black carbon fiber, the metallic gold in carbon fiber. It looked almost a little bit tacky, and now that I've changed it to black, it just looks so much nicer with those light grey details at the top of the halo as well. It just... it looks so good. This car continues to get better and better with age, and we haven't even hit the custom liveries in Season 2, which I'm potentially going to do with some real-life sponsors. It's going to be awesome. So look forward to that. Look forward to Oscar getting better. Look forward to regular points finishes, podium potential in Season 2, I hope. But we really need to knuckle down and shore up the facilities of this car. I've been having a thought lately, actually, and let me know what you think about it. I've actually been thinking that maybe it's a better strategy if we bin off this year's car in terms of developments. Now, what I mean by that is we don't spend any resource points for like 4 or 5 races. We save up our cash, and we set aside our cash to go into resource point generation. Because we're failing a lot of upgrades at the moment. What's the point in investing when things cost a lot more? If we wait, we can get so many discounts on the car every race to the point where things might start being free. We'll have a shed load of resource points, and we won't be wasting resource points on doubling down on upgrades which failed, if that makes sense. Let me know what you think about that. For the short term, that will affect the car, that will affect performance, and it's very hard to make a decision like that, especially when we are scoring points at the moment, and it's crucial to do so. But it's a thought worth discussing with you guys as well. It's something I've actually never done in career mode. I've always just plowed ahead, straight on, like getting upgrades on as quick as possible. But this is a strategy which could genuinely work. Anyway, it is time for qualifying. It's the end of qualifying, actually. We're 4/10 up as we approach the last corner. And this looks set to move us up, maybe past the Alpine or the Williams. Let's have a wait and see as we cross the line. It is P14, actually. So P15 as someone else improves. Unfortunately, we got some floor damage on the car at some point over the course of the lap. We do use the curbs a little bit, and with simulation damage, these things can often crop up, meaning we're going to miss out on our very last run here in Q1. We're in P15. We're in the safe zone at the moment, but as we fast forward time, everyone improves with an ever-improving track, and unfortunately, we got knocked out in this session. It's P21, 2.3 seconds off the pace. Oscar improved quite dramatically there. He was 2 or 3 tenths behind me heading into that run. Now he's 2 or 3 tenths ahead. So, massive improvement. Looks like the track got really fast at the end there. And unfortunately, we just weren't there to capitalize on it. So, it's back row of the grid, meaning we're probably going to take, you guessed it, another engine penalty in this season of career mode. I think the last 4 or 5 races, for whatever reason, we've opted to take new engines. So, it's going to come to a point soon where we won't need to worry about reliability. I know the reliability is bad, but at the rate that we're taking new engines, surely we can just go full steam ahead on just working on the performance and maybe even just bin off the... Oh, should we bin off the durability? That's a risky thing to say. We don't want to turn up to Season 2 with the reliability we have now in a much faster car when there's potential to lose more points. I'll have a think about that one. But regardless, you know what I'm saying. We're going to be starting at the back of the grid. We're going to have a fresh engine components for the most part in every department. Maybe apart from the gearbox, I'm saving those in an effort to not use a 5th gearbox. I think we can just about make it. We'll have to wait and see. The lack of running we are getting means we're saving mileage on the gearbox. But there we go. It's last place on the grid for the French Grand Prix. But you know what? I fancy my chances. We've got a low drag setup, and I think we can overtake. So I'm looking forward to it.
Welcome along then to France, one of the great racing meccas, host of the world-famous Tour de France, and widely thought of as giving birth to the art of motor racing in the late 1800s. How far we've come since then as this year's race gets underway. It's time, of course, for the French Grand Prix. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position. And it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Sainz, Sergio Perez, and Russell. Norris, Riccardo, Bottas, and Fernando Alonso. Mick Schumacher, Gasly, Kevin Magnussen, and Joe. Ocon, Tsunoda, Lance Stroll, and Nicholas Latifi. Vettel, Albon, Oscar Piastri, and Benjamin. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
After the points finished last race, let's aim to keep that momentum going.
And keep it going, we shall hopefully do. Welcome guys to the grid of Paul Ricard, and it's a back row start for both Marduk Motorsport drivers. Oscar on the mediums in P21, he's taken some engine penalties, and I'm glad he's taken them now. I'm glad he hasn't waited until, I don't know, somewhere stupid like Hungary or Singapore, where we would have really been out of engines. He's taken it early before I'm guessing he's run out of engines. So this is a good track for overtaking. Potentially a better strategy here. This might be a borderline 2-stop for some teams. We'll have to wait and see. We've got both the McLarens on hard compound tires, so they're going to be a bit of an anchor in that midfield battle. So I'm looking forward to hopefully being in the mix with those guys. Hopefully the McLarens can back everyone up into us as we have a bit of pace in this race. 5 red lights, and we are underway for the French Grand Prix. Second half of the season is well underway now, and that's not been a good start. For some reason, it felt like I wasn't moving. Yeah, it really felt like I wasn't making momentum, like something was holding me back there. I was mashing down the power, and one of the tires was leaving a lot of skid marks on the ground there, so that was very concerning. We're away now, and the car is okay. Very weird. Very, very weird indeed. Anyway, we've underfueled the car in an effort to make this thing a little bit faster at the early stage of the race. The fuel consumption of this car has been pretty good, to be fair. And we can always save a little bit more fuel than what the game thinks we can, especially if there's a safety car. The AI love overfueling their cars, and that gives us a slight weight advantage over those guys. Lance Stroll into the pit lane at the end of lap 1. Lewis Hamilton on the pace at the front of this field, leading the French Grand Prix. That Mercedes, rather, is getting rather potent in this season of career mode. We're seeing like a 3-way fight for the championship. Charles Leclerc, Sergio Perez starting to get in the mix, but it's mainly Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen. Those three, and if Lewis Hamilton starts winning now, then my goodness, this could be the greatest career mode season of all time. Anyway, we got a shocking run out of that chicane, and now we're just checking the vehicle condition. It's fine, so we can crack on. We've got Bottas, no, Guan Yu Zhou actually up the inside, heading into that very fast right-hander, which is very mistake-prone on older games. If you're running high ballast, we don't need to worry about that. What we do need to worry about is putting food on the table for the next week, because we've just cut our first corner of the race, and that means no sponsor bonus for this race. So can we get some Fs in the chat, please? That is very sad. I'm going to have to cancel Oscar's contract and hire someone off the street. I'm looking for some cheap labor out here. Anyway, Schumacher, a little bit slow on the exit of this second back straight, and we're going to go clean around the outside, leave him a tiny bit of space as we head into Sector 3 now, and wow, he sneaks up the inside. We're able to do the under and over on him. He went in a little bit too deep, and we were able to really mash down the gears and grab that extra rotation needed to get underneath the Haas and back into the place we were just in. So 200 IQ plays, if I do say so myself. Thank you very much. We are back into, I don't even know what position we're in at this point. It's been a bit of a hectic start, as you can see. Schumacher just going in a little bit too deep, leaning on those working side tyres, and that was GG. Oh, he's also had a bit of a moment on exit, which has lost him even more time. So that's a shame for Schumacher. I think he lost another place out of that. So not well managed from his point of view. Oscar Piastri having a bit of a scrap with one of the Williams gets through. And thankfully no front wing damage for my teammate. He's been a bit unlucky as well, has Piastri. He's been involved in some incidents. That sounds harsh, but like he's just had minor bouts of contact with someone. Perhaps not his fault at times. And it's given him front wing damage, and the team's called him in, and he's ended up not really capitalizing on some potentially good results because of that. So I'd love to see him have a clean run this weekend. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But starting off the back row of the grid, it's never going to be easy for someone who's in their rookie season and in essentially what is nearly enough the slowest car on the field as we nearly run into the back of Tsunoda heading into the back chicane. And that was all in an effort to keep Schumacher behind because he was on my right-hand side. We'll get a replay of that now and see just what happened. I was just late under brakes, trying to defend from Schumacher. Then I just went straight on, nearly hit the AlphaTauri. Then I had to slow down to not get another penalty because that would have been disastrous for our hopes of getting points. So we've given up the place to Schumacher. Schumacher gets me and then, of course, gets Tsunoda as well in the process. So he's absolutely flying in that Haas. We're now going to get DRS off of Tsunoda. So it's not all doom and gloom. We're able to cling on to the back of this battle and hopefully get dragged along in this race. We are actually pulling away from Zhou Guanyu and Nicholas Latifi. So we're looking all right. We're not too far away from the points runners, the Alpine, the McLaren of the world. And you know, with some safety cars, with some strategy, maybe failures, a bit of luck, a bit of pace, hopefully on the hard compound tyre that's incoming, anything's possible. P14 at the moment as we're looking up the inside of Tsunoda into the last corner, and that was surprising to see that we were able to.
Good job, nice overtake.
Thank you very much. Very surprising I was able to find that much speed, that much momentum, almost out of nowhere. Did Tsunoda hesitate out of that last corner? Because, oh, there's our second warning of the race. One more and we got a penalty. Maybe our tyres are holding on that little bit better than those around us. We seem to be getting a little bit stronger in this race. We're still pulling away from those behind us. Guan Yu Zhou still 5 seconds back now. So we're a lot faster than that group of cars. Maybe the Alfa Romeo has some damage. But either way, we're looking decently fast in this race, which is nice. We're in P12, which is where we need to be to meet the other sponsor objective. We're not getting the corner cutting one this race. So we've got to at least perform well if we are to make any inroads on improving the facilities. That's what we desperately need right now. But enough talk about financials. Let's get back to the action of this race and into the pit lane for a set of hard compound tyres. Pretty decent stop there, 2.2 seconds. We get away cleanly enough. And this time we don't hold up our teammates in the pit lane. We've got a yellow flag though in the first sector. I think it was one of the Mercedes having an issue into one of the chicanes. We're following on board with George Russell, who's just come out of the pit lane. He's got cold tyres on and he's sliding all over the place. He's got Sergio Perez for company as well as they head into the right-hander. George Russell under pressure, locks up the inside front tyre, rejoins the circuit. Oh, and he takes out Lewis Hamilton. The Mercedes have come together in the French Grand Prix, and this is not the first time this has happened this season either. Hamilton is fuming. And it's not hard to see why. George Russell rejoining at the most dangerous point of the circuit. Almost 90-degree angle to his teammates. Nowhere for Hamilton to go. Despite all of the endless runoff in this circuit, Hamilton has found his teammates and they are both out of this French Grand Prix. Safety car has been enabled and we go from what was P12 to now P10 and potentially a point in this race. Somehow we've jumped Schumacher by doing an undercut. I thought this was an overcut meta on this game. Both the McLarens are in, they double stacked. Ricciardo getting the raw end of the deal, but he's onto the medium compound tyres, as is Lando Norris. So those McLarens are going to be pretty quick and charging towards the front. This timely safety car has really worked out well for those guys. They might be on a charge for a podium at this rate, but yeah, watch out for those guys. Norris is best of the rest behind the two Red Bulls and the two Ferraris, so certainly anything is possible, and I put my bets on Ricciardo getting the Alfa Romeo and getting into P5 potentially as well. So safety car is in at the end of this lap, and wow, that crash from the Mercedes, that's massive. That's a PR disaster if ever I've seen one. Hamilton and Russell coming together for like the second or third time this season. absolutely mental. Anyway, we're rejoining for a green flag here in the French Grand Prix. Trying to get a nice run on Ocon. And in doing so, he's just been distracted and got a horrible exit out of that last corner. We swoop up the inside at the last minute and get P9. So that was absolutely lovely. But unfortunately, we've lost... It was so easy in the end there. That was very nice. Thank you. We've got Riccardo up next. 1.2 seconds is the gap. Unfortunately, because of Ocon's terrible exit on that restart, we lost a bit of ground. But we are clawing it back with Alonso very slow on those hard compound tyres. I think we did a great job to warm up the tyres on this occasion because it's really put us on the front foot from this restart. So much so that we might actually be faster than Alonso at this early stage. We're defending now from Ocon, and Alonso is defending from Riccardo in that same vein as we head into this left-hander. We hold on, but Alonso does not. So let's hopefully get within 1 second of Alonso, and he can drag us along with DRS. It's going to be another lap or so before we can rely on that. So we're going to use a bit of our battery to close the gap. Yellow flag. Oh, Alonso is out. Alonso, who I was hoping was going to drag me along in this race, away from the pack, has retired from this Grand Prix. That's an engine failure at the team's home race for Alpine. They are not going to be happy with that one. And to be honest, that's kind of screwed me because I'm now going to fall into the clutches of Ocon and Schumacher now for the rest of this stint. There's no way I'm going to be able to stick with Riccardo on medium compound tyres. And even Bottas on hards. That Alfa Romeo is very, very slick in a straight line. DRS is now enabled. Bottas defending perhaps a little bit harder than what I thought he would. He's really putting up a fight and holding up Riccardo. They've been going side by side a little bit off camera, and it's actually brought me into DRS range again. So turns out the Alonso retirement has only helped me in my quest to get some points today. We've got 4 World Championship points against our name in this French Grand Prix. We've still got 8 laps to go, and there's the potential for more because Bottas is slow on this back straight. We go up the inside, a little bit of contact on his right rear tyre, and he completely leaves the door open there. Bottas spooked, and we move up into P7 in this Grand Prix. Tyres are looking okay. Fronts are actually wearing out a little bit more than the rears, which is going to induce quite a bit of understeer towards the back end of this race. I'm not too sure what I'm doing wrong. Actually, looking at my throttle traces, I was braking a little bit hard into turn 1, and I noticed that a little bit when I was editing this video. Too much brake pressure, and it was actually carting me a little bit wide off the apex. So maybe I've been locking up a little bit in this race, which has been... speaking of lockups, thank you very much for the pre-position. Back up into P7. That is a bit common, isn't it? We get overtaken by an AI, and then straight away they make a mistake, undoing all the good work that they just did. So up into P7 now, 6 World Championship points against our name. It's going to be awfully tough to make inroads on Daniel Ricciardo in that McLaren, which is so much faster than us, much better tyre than us. And with Bottas now having a go, I think our focus needs to shift to just maintaining this position, or maybe even letting him go in an effort to get some DRS and charge up our battery ourselves. You can see we're under 10% now in an effort to keep him behind. Here comes Bottas around the outside. This is from the replay. Yeah, he was playing it safe there, trying not to make any contact, and now Ocon has got through by virtue of Bottas's hesitance. Still 6 laps to go in this race, and still a lot that can happen. Absolutely no battery left, 5%. So we're going to need someone to go in front so I can get DRS and slipstream, and I can just make a charge, recover a little bit, and get fighting fit for the last few laps of this race. The first stint was very encouraging. Again, we missed the apex there. Have a little rewind. See, I think I'm just braking a little bit too much into that corner. I think I am perhaps not maximizing the trail braking. Bottas gets it right this time with a nice dive bomb and into P8. So we lost 2 spots in the last lap or so, going backwards a little bit, but I'm not too worried. Our tyre wear seems to be pretty good, and I feel like I've got the pace. I've just been on the back foot a little bit, just charging the battery. I'm getting ready for those final few laps. I don't know what the AI situation is with the battery either. They might be using all of theirs now, and they might have to go into a recharge mode in these next couple of laps. So we're not completely down and out in this race as we go up the inside of Bottas now. He leaves the space. That's just characteristic of Bottas, isn't it? Probably the least aggressive driver in the field, and we're making the most of that. Ocon, unfortunately, with that battling, has got outside of a second, and we're going to have to close that gap ourselves. Oh, Schumacher getting in the mix as well. on those hard compound tires. Round the outside of Bottas to make a bit of contact. And I think that might be front wing damage. It was certainly heavy enough contact. And I think there is a slight bit of damage on the right-hand upright of Mick Schumacher's car. I'll have to get a replay or just have a look at that front wing. But I did notice a tiny little shark bite from that little replay there. But 3 laps to go in this race. And somehow we're closing back in to Esteban Ocon. Even though we really didn't have battery, he seems to be a little bit slower than us, and I think it's tyre wear. That's the only thing I can really say. Our pace was okay at the start of the stint, but we just seem to be getting stronger as the race wears on. Are they really overweight for fuel? I don't know. The only thing I think it's the tyres. I just think that we're getting a little bit stronger. The car is responding better on lighter fuel. We seem to be just rotating better, I noticed, at lower speed corners. So it's just it's coming up Millhouse in this French Grand Prix, and Ocon's sliding around a little bit at medium to high speed, I've started to notice. So yeah, it's looking pretty good at this stage. We're in the slipstream, we're in the DRS, we're charging up the battery, nearly 20% now. So if we can get to 30%, 35%, that gives us a solid chunk of battery to really fight with on the last lap. So we're in no rush to really overtake him. We seem to be very strong through the last sequence of corners. The understeer that the AI get for some reason is really, really tough on the front tires, and we're able to get close into that last corner. So that's what I think is our best chance. We will try and have a go on the 2 DRS straights, or the DRS straight here on this first one. Let's see how close we can get. I'm not really good out of that long right-hander, which doesn't set me up well on this straight. We do get DRS, used a little bit of battery, but not too much. But this corner here, we are able to get nice rotation at the back end of this race, using a lot of curb there and not getting a warning for it, just keeping within the white lines, which is nice to see. And Ocon, at this point, is really running out of battery. He's not using it on this back straight, but we are going to start using it ourselves. Can we get up the inside into that right-hander? We thought about it. We had a really good think about it there, but unfortunately not quite close enough to seal the deal. Only 3 or 4 corners left in this Grand Prix to go. I think Max Verstappen is going to win this one. And we're looking behind from Ocon. We're a little bit too far away to strike a move unless he makes a minor mistake into this last corner. He is missing the apex massively. We get up the inside into the last corner, dive bomb, and Ocon leaves the space. And now it's going to be a drag race up to the line. We do get the power on quite nicely, and we steal P7 at the end in the French Grand Prix.
All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Wow. That was unexpected. That pace just got so good at the end. I wanted that race to keep going. 6 points.
Red Bull pulling out all the stops today. What a great win. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we could talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those that we've witnessed today.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently, and it's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be so proud of the victory they've secured here.
GG's. The Max Verstappen era continues in this season of career mode. There's been a few different, trends going on. Leclerc winning, then Sainz winning. Now it's Verstappen's turn. Whose turn is it going to be next? Is it going to be Lando Norris, who got himself on the podium today? And that deserves a massive shout out because McLaren started this season slower than us on the performance index. So the rate of development from that team has been absolutely phenomenal. Let's hope that that can kind of reflect in the real life French Grand Prix. McLaren, if they're the 4th best car in like a week or two's time, then I'd be absolutely over the moon with that. P7, I'm over the moon with that, to be honest. 6 points, 20 seconds away from the lead of the race. Yes, there was a late race safety car, which certainly helped us out. But we found a bit of pace, a bit of momentum at the back end of stints, and that was very surprising, considering we've only had 1 tyre wear upgrade. How many teams have actually bothered to upgrade their tyre wear? I don't know. I would have thought that they'd have a better package than us. I thought they'd be lighter on their tires than us, even from standard. So the fact that we're, I don't know, a little bit of a threat now at the back end of races like that is awfully encouraging. We're still 8th in the Constructors. So very, very difficult to make further inroads than that. Alfa Romeo is the next team ahead of us. McLaren shooting up a couple of places in the Constructors as well. So I think we can conclusively say that McLaren are no longer rivals to us in the Constructors. We're kind of in no man's land, a long way behind the midfield and, well, a long way ahead of Aston Martin and Williams. So I put it to you again, guys. That strategy of binning off this year's car now, should we do it? Should we just cancel all developments for the next 4 or 5 races, continue to work on practice programs to build discounts, upgrade the facilities to earn more resource points, and then once we've unlocked a few things within the facility, you know, resource point generation being one of them, also upgrading the fabrication upgrades, just so that we're not spending extra money on more expensive upgrades, and potentially upgrades are going to have to be worked on again if they fail. I mean, it kind of makes sense if we slow down development now and then just go ham at the end of the season. I don't know. Let me know. It's a tough one because we're in a good position at the moment where we're starting to see a bit of momentum now that upgrades are starting to go on a little bit more frequently. It's not perfect by any means, but we're starting to make some inroads. And it's very tempting to just keep going, considering we are scoring points. That's 3 7th place finishes in a row. I'd really like your input on that. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you did enjoy. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to see plenty more F1 22 content. I know I focused very heavily on career mode at this early stage of the game's life cycle. I don't like just focusing on career mode, but it's all I've had time for at the moment. I am going to change, and I'm going to start doing some more one-off fun, wacky videos, and I think that's going to start today with a cheeky stream. So follow me on Twitch if you guys want to get involved in some open lobbies and some other shenanigans. It should be pretty fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. That has been the French Grand Prix. Very exciting Grand Prix in the end. I think we've got Hungary next, then we've got the mid-season break, and then we head to the Belgian Grand Prix, where truly the second half of this season can kick off. Until then, it's goodbye.